was in Abog that the fourth stage of the awareness tour of the new partnership between the school actors. In the COVID-19, US reaches green milestone of 250,000 coronavirus deaths. Thank you for joining us in our newsroom. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Anglais, paid a vibrant tribute to the memory of the late Omar Arte Galib, former Prime Minister of Somalia, who passed away yesterday, Wednesday. In his tribute, President Galib described the deceased as one of the last monuments of the contemporary political history of our region. The people of this part of the world will always carry him in their hearts for his deep attachment to peace, stability, and brotherhood, the President said. He was a virtuous politician. He earned esteem through his talents as a speaker and his perfect mastery of diplomacy. The head of state then noted, a man of heart and faith, he will remain forever a precious source of inspiration for future generations, especially for his propensity to always favor general understanding to the determinant of his career, said President Ismail Margele, who implored God Almighty to welcome the deceased in his eternal paradise. The late Omar Arte Galib, who died in Hargeisa, Somaliland, served for many years as Foreign Minister of Somalia before becoming the Prime Minister of that country. He leaves behind an important family. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Within the framework of the transformative project of the Djiboutian school, in order to set up a new partnership framework between MENFOP and the actors of the school, strengthening the already existing partnership. The Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, accompanied by senior officials of his ministry, went to the Obok region. This is the fourth phase of his tour in the regions of the interior, and after the region of Arta, then that of Ali Sabih and that of Dikhil. The minister organized an important meeting in Obok, chaired by the minister in the presence of authorities of the region, the president of the regional council, Mr. Mohammed Hamad, the prefect of the region, Mr. Abdul Malik Mohammed Bonita, and deputies of the region participated in this event. All first welcomed the minister and his delegation and welcomed in turn this initiative of MENFOP to strengthen the partnership with regional authorities and populations in the quest for improving the quality of teaching and learning. The actors of the school invited to the consultation meeting expressed their expectations and promised to adhere to the new partnership between actors of the school and MENFOP intended to strengthen education. The Minister of National Education, Mr. Mustafa Mohammed Mahmoud, has insisted in his intervention on the establishment of this new partnership framework, which must be based, he said, on the principle of accountability, the proactivity of MENFOP to meet the expectations and educational needs of the schools interactively through a permanent exchange with the latter. He said that the functional consultation by creating a network of associations including parents, elected officials, village chiefs, and the prefect, as well as Okals. And Mr. Araiti, who is the advisor of the Minister of the National Education, granted us an interview where he said the following.
Minister of National Education and Vocational Training and his delegation are in Obok. This visit is in line with the transformative project. It has also the objective to launch a new partnership with the local population. And also we discuss on the best manner to launch this new partnership. This new partnership is based on accountability. It makes the MENFOP accountable and ready to respond to the expectations as well as the different needs of the population in this region. I would like to take this opportunity also to thank the population of this town, the town of Abok, for its nice and warm welcome that they reserve to the Minister of National Education and his delegation. Thank you very much.
The Minister of Budget, Abdul Karim Aden Sher, received this morning the new extraordinary and plenipotentiary ambassador of Ethiopia to the Republic of Djibouti in IGAD, Berhanu Zegaya Bera. After the first words of welcome, the minister wished the Ethiopian diplomat every success in the exercise of his duties in our country. On this, the two personalities discussed the state of bilateral relations between Djibouti and Ethiopia in many areas, ways and means also that are likely to further consolidate them in the short, medium and long term. The meeting was an opportunity to recall the historical and deep relations between the Republic of Djibouti and Ethiopia in the field of economic development of both countries. The Minister of Defense in charge of relations with the Parliament, Hassan Umar Mohammed, accompanied by the Chief of General Staff of the Armed Forces, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, paid an unannounced visit to the French naval base located on the Heron Island on Wednesday, November 18. This visit, the first of its kind, is part of the fraternal relations between the Djiboutian Armed Forces and the French forces stationed in Djibouti, accompanied by arrival at the Heron Island. Minister Hassan Umar Mohammed was welcomed by Lieutenant Commander Jean-Yves Biazeki, commanding the French naval base in Djibouti. After the salute of the picket of honor of his rank, the Minister of Defense responsible for relations with the Parliament went to the staff of the base, where a presentation on the missions of the naval base was projected to them. Indeed, the French naval base in Djibouti, also known as the Heron Naval Base, is a projected naval base of the French Navy in East Africa. Its main mission is to support and accommodate French sailors on shore missions in Djibouti. And at the end of the presentation, punctuated by an exchange of information, the Minister of Defense, Hassan Umar Mohammed, accompanied by General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, attended a motorized guided tour of the base. Thus, the minister was able to see firsthand the various facilities within the naval base, including the various workshops, headquarters, the places of residence of the families of French sailors stationed in Djibouti, and places of relaxations. The Minister of Energy in charge of natural resources, Mr. Yonis Ali Gedi, accompanied by senior officials of his department, signed today the Memorandum of Understanding of the refinery project with the company Alessandros Petroleum Limited. After weeks of intense discussions, the two parties reached this agreement, which lays the foundation of the partnership between the Ministry of Energy and Alessandros for the establishment of an oil refinery in the Jemerjuk area, future industrial hub of the Republic of Djibouti. The Minister of Energy expressed confidence in the success of this project and stressed that this partnership will receive the full support of the government to strengthen the position of Djibouti as a regional energy and logistic hub, and thus benefit from the geostrategic location of our country. Other recent news of this edition: Colonel Mohammed Jama Duale, commander of the Republican Guard, organized this morning at the football field of the Republican Guard an important ceremony dedicated to the tribute of the high-level sportsmen of the Republican Guard, contributing significantly to the national and international influence and development, but also a party during which the main laureates of the past year among the club's players, coaches of the Republican Guard were honored. The Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, Hassan Mohammed Kamil, and General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces, with the participation of Mr. Abdurrahman Ali Abdullahi, Director General of the Air Djibouti, Mr. Ghali Idris Omar, Honorary President of the Republican Guard Athletics Team, were invited to this occasion. Director of the Real Estate Company and Non-Development Director of East Africa Bank, the Presidents of Archery Federation, Judo, Handball, Football, Athletics, as well as several civil and military authorities, without forgetting the trio of May 1983 Paris Marathon, the heroes of always, namely Ahmed Salah, Roble Jama and Abdullahi Sharmaki. Thus, this year, the athletes of the Republican Guard have shone in many disciplines, and it is now time to lift the veil on the courses. Commander of the Republican Guard, Colonel Mohammed Jama, then delivered a speech that began by offering thanks and gratitude to the attendees for accepting the invitation, praising at the same time the great achievements made by the Republican Guard football team. As for the Secretary of State for Youth and Sport, Mr. Hassan Mohammed Kamil, praised in his speech the appreciated efforts made by the commander of the Republican Guard to advance national sports at all levels. And this season is certainly not a historical record, but a season that marked the most important influence in improving female participation in broadening the sports discipline, but also in the maintenance and modernization of existing sports facilities. The very recent completion of the soccer pitch of the at the Omar Ali Cup in camp, which has now delighted footballers from the youngest to the oldest, is a good illustration of this. And during the ceremony, awards were presented to the highest grades individually or by teams that have particularly distinguished themselves. Colonel Mohammed Jama Ali, commander of the Republican Guard, and its head was constantly at its side to support them in their actions. They showed a strong potential of progression and participated in all activities to carry high the colors of this institution. And not to forget, the Republican Guard achieved a great performance by winning the title of National Men's Champion of the First Division and the trophy of the Super Cup, with opponents the title of Best Player of the Championship awarded to the emblematic captain of the team, Adjutant Abu Bakr Omar Ilmi. The Republican Guard Football Club was established in 2009 and has several trophies to its credit. As for women's handball, finishes vice champion of the 2019-2020 season, plus best players of the 2019-2020 sports season. The handball players of the Republican Guard have distinguished themselves throughout the past season by their performances. The women football team of the Republican Guard has particularly distinguished itself during this season, the soccer club of the Republican Guard, by becoming vice champion of the first women's division for our first participation concerning athleticism. The Republican Guard athletes have distinguished themselves by occupying the top of rankings in various tracks and fields events. And as for the Ministry of Urban Planning, Environment and Tourism, in collaboration with UNDP, organized yesterday morning at the People's Palace a consultation and awareness workshop on the protection and preservation of marine and coastal biodiversity in Djibouti. Were present on this occasion by the Secretary General of the Ministry of Planning, Environment and Tourism, Mr. Dini Abdallah, Director of Tourism, Mr. Osman Abdi Mohammed, Director of Environment, Mr. Hussein Rirash, and private operators and directing of fishing. The project aims to reduce sector pressures on marine and coastal biodiversity to strengthen the resilience of marine and coastal biodiversity in Djibouti. To sum up this national edition obituary, we have learned the death of the late Abdi Osman Robli Abdi Masri on Monday, November 16, born in Sanka al-Dakhil in 1956. He leaves behind him 5 children, 20 grandchildren. He was the president of the Union of Truckers in the port of Djibouti. We pray the Almighty God to welcome him in his eternal paradise. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. In news from around the world, the World Health Organization (WHO) has just declared the end of the 11th Ebola epidemic. It began 6 months ago in the Equatorial Province in the west of Democratic Republic of Congo. This epidemic was declared on June 1st, 2020 and affected 119 people and caused 55 deaths for 75 recoveries, even though the east of the country was already facing the same scourge. Although the country has already stopped several outbreaks of the disease, the fight against this 11th Ebola epidemic was complicated by its simultaneously with the coronavirus pandemic. The Congolese authorities relied on the vaccine of more than 40,000 people deemed at high risk, while at the same time making more than 3 million people aware of the measures to be taken to avoid being contaminated. The United States reached this Wednesday the milestone of 250,000 deaths attributed to COVID-19 since the beginning of this epidemic. According to the reference count of the Johns Hopkins University, the country where the epidemic has significantly increased in recent weeks is by far the most ravaged in the world by the disease, ahead of Brazil and India, with more than 11 million cases. It alone accounts for nearly one-fifth of the total number of infections recorded worldwide since the emergence of the new coronavirus. A glimmer of hope, the announcement by the American companies Pfizer and Moderna of two highly effective experimental vaccines against COVID-19, which have quickly given the green light by the American Drug Agency, could make it possible to proceed with the first vaccination before the end of the year. And that's all for this news. Thank you for being with us on the RTD channel and have a great evening.